What if I told you that being a good person, kind, respectful, well-mannered, might be the very thing that's holding you back? I know that sounds wrong. It goes against everything you were taught growing up. Be nice. Be polite. Don't cause trouble. Don't raise your voice. Fit in. Make people comfortable. Keep the peace. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Harmless people get hurt. Harmless people get passed over. Harmless people get used. Because when you are harmless, you are not safe. You are vulnerable. You've been told your whole life that strength is dangerous, that aggression is wrong, that intensity is unattractive, and you believed it. So you learned to shrink yourself, to play small, to water down your opinions, your boundaries, your truth. And then one day, you woke up tired of saying yes when you meant no, tired of being the one who's always understanding, tired of being overlooked, talked over, dismissed. That moment you felt it, that burn in your gut, that wasn't weakness, that wasn't rage, that was your inner monster waking up. I'm not talking about rage or recklessness. I'm not talking about hurting people. I'm talking about power, about capability, about being someone who can defend themselves, protect what matters, and walk into any room, owning their presence. You should be a monster, not the kind that destroys, but the kind that doesn't have to prove anything, because they've already earned their silence. So here's the question I want to ask you. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to be harmless and started learning how to be dangerous in the right way? Think about that. Let it simmer. Because once you tap into what you're really capable of, no one, not fear, not failure, not people will ever control you again. Now let's talk about how you become that version of you, the one they never saw coming. You've been taught your whole life to fear the word monster, to see it as something dark, violent, uncontrollable. It conjures images of cruelty, chaos, and destruction, something lurking in the shadows, something to be eliminated. But what if I told you that everything you've been taught to fear about being a monster is exactly what you need to survive, to succeed, and to stand on your own feet in a world that doesn't reward softness? Let's challenge that word. Let's tear it apart. Because in the context of personal power, a monster isn't someone who causes harm. A monster is someone who can cause harm, but chooses not to. It's someone who understands their capacity for destruction and has the discipline to keep it under control. That's not evil. That's power. That's the kind of presence that demands respect before you even speak. Not because you're loud, but because people can feel you're not the one to be played with. This version of the monster? It's not violent. It's not cruel. It's focused. It's capable. It's self-aware. It's relentless when it needs to be. And it doesn't ask for permission to exist. That's the monster I want you to become. See, we live in a world that constantly pushes the idea that being nice is the highest virtue. You're praised when you're agreeable. You're liked when you're passive. You're more comfortable to others when you don't rock the boat, when you stay quiet, when you smile through discomfort. But understand this, being nice isn't the same as being good. In fact, nice can often be the mask worn by the powerless. Niceness is often driven by fear, the fear of not being liked, the fear of confrontation, the fear of stepping into your own strength because you were never taught how to hold it. Goodness is something entirely different. Goodness is strength under control. It's the ability to defend others, to speak truth, to stand firm, to act when action is required. You can't be good if you don't have the ability to say no. You can't be good if you don't have the spine to take a hit and still move forward. And you certainly can't be good if your only strategy is to avoid upsetting people. That's not virtue. That's vulnerability. When you're truly powerful, when you've built yourself into someone who can endure pain, stand up to pressure, and act with clarity, you become dangerous in the best way. You become someone who could destroy, but doesn't. You become the person others want in their corner when everything hits the fan, because you've done the work. You've trained your body, you've trained your mind, you've stared into your own dark corners, and you didn't flinch. You're no longer afraid of your intensity. You've mastered it. Being a monster in this context means knowing exactly what you're capable of when life goes off script. It means having the courage to make tough decisions, even when they're not popular. It means defending your values with conviction. And it means refusing to let anyone dictate your worth, your path, or your truth. Look around. This world doesn't reward people for being harmless. It doesn't bend to the quiet, the polite, the obedient. It responds to presence, to confidence, to those who move like they know they belong. because they've earned their place through discipline, through effort, through unshakable self-belief. That's what being a monster means. It means being the kind of person who walks into the fire, not because they want to burn everything down, but because they know they can walk out of it stronger. Now, some people will be uncomfortable when you grow into this version of yourself. They liked you better when you were smaller, easier to manage, more agreeable. That's not your problem. Your job is not to live inside the expectations other people created for you. Your job is to evolve, to grow, to step fully into your strength. And that means being willing to be misunderstood. It means being willing to walk alone. It means being willing to let go of the version of you that made everyone else comfortable but left you empty. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes work. You have to unlearn years of conditioning. You have to train mentally, emotionally, and physically. You have to confront your fears, your insecurities, your avoidance patterns. You have to stop running from confrontation and start leaning into it. Not with aggression, but with calm, grounded presence. That's real power. When you don't have to raise your voice to be heard. When people listen not because you're yelling, but because you rarely speak without meaning. There's nothing wrong with being kind. There's nothing wrong with compassion. But kindness without strength is hollow. It's unstable. It breaks the moment pressure is applied. Real compassion stands tall, even when challenged. And to stand tall, you need to become someone who knows their capacity, who's been to their edge, who's faced discomfort without backing down. That's how you become dangerous. That's how you become a force. That's how you stop being someone who gets walked on and start being someone who gets remembered. So redefine what it means to be a monster. Strip away the fear and the shame. Replace it with clarity, with control, with power. Understand that being dangerous doesn't make you a threat. It makes you a protector, a leader, someone who can hold the line when it matters most. The world doesn't need more harmless people. It needs more people who are powerful and choose to use that power wisely. Be one of them. Be someone who walks with strength, speaks with purpose, and leads with heart, but never forgets that beneath all that control, there is a fire. And that fire, when used with discipline, can light the way not just for yourself, but for everyone watching. You should be a monster, because the alternative is being prey. You've been told your whole life that being harmless is a good thing, that it makes you safe, likable, moral, that if you just keep your head down, follow the rules, don't make waves, and treat everyone nicely, life will reward you. People will respect you, you'll be protected, you'll be fine. But let's be honest. How many times has that version of you, the harmless version, been overlooked, ignored, dismissed, used? How many moments have you swallowed your words, buried your instincts, or silenced your truth just to keep the peace, only to walk away feeling small, disrespected, or outright broken? That's the hidden cost of being harmless. It doesn't protect you, it exposes you. It makes you a target, whether you realize it or not. When you're harmless, people don't think twice about crossing your boundaries because they know you won't enforce them. When you're harmless, you don't walk into rooms with presence, you vanish. You blend into the background. You spend your energy trying to please, trying not to offend, trying to be easy to work with, live with, be around. And while you're working so hard to be agreeable, the world keeps turning for the people who never ask for permission to be bold. Harmless people think they're playing it safe, but in reality they're playing it small, and there is a big difference. You're not safe because you're harmless. You're just easier to manipulate. Because here's what most people won't say out loud. The world doesn't respect people who don't respect themselves. And the world doesn't trust people who can't stand up for themselves either. Because if you won't fight for your own dignity, your own voice, your own values, why would anyone believe you could stand for something greater? There is a quiet violence in always making yourself smaller, in letting things slide that shouldn't be allowed, in saying it's fine when it's not, in pretending you're okay just to make other people comfortable. Being harmless makes you easy to control. It makes you dependent on others for protection, for approval, for direction. And when you're dependent, you're not free. That's why the cost is so high. You lose your edge. You lose your presence. You lose the ability to walk away when something no longer serves you. And over time, you lose parts of yourself, the strong parts, the primal, knowing parts that whisper, this isn't right. Speak up, get up, fight back, but you ignore them because you've been trained to believe that strength is something to be ashamed of. Harmless people avoid confrontation not because they're peaceful, but because they're unprepared. They fear conflict because they've never developed the tools to handle it. They're afraid of being disliked because their sense of identity is built on external approval. They equate tension with danger when really tension is just a sign that boundaries are being tested, and sometimes boundaries need to be enforced. People who live their lives trying to be harmless don't create peace, they avoid discomfort. And in doing so, they give up control over their own lives. How many people do you know who stayed in jobs they hated, relationships that drained them, friendships that disrespected them, all because they didn't want to seem difficult? How many people gave away their time, energy, and self-respect for the sake of not upsetting anyone? That's not kindness, that's erasure. There's a difference between being good and being weak. Being good requires strength, boundaries, and the ability to say no. Weakness masquerading as kindness is manipulation toward yourself and toward others. Because when you're too afraid to set limits, people don't know where you stand. When you don't enforce your value, people don't feel it. The irony is, most people who try to be harmless do it because they want to be loved. They want to be accepted. They want to be enough. But love without respect is hollow. And you don't get respect by shrinking. You don't earn respect by being easy to manage. You earn it by standing in your truth even when your voice shakes. You earn it by showing people that there's a line and you're not afraid to hold it. The people who are truly at peace, the people who can be kind, generous, and open-hearted without being taken advantage of, aren't harmless. They're powerful. They have the strength to choose compassion because they also have the strength to walk away, to defend themselves, to say, not here, not like this, not with me. And that kind of person is trusted. That kind of person leads. That kind of person makes an impact. So if you've been trying to live your life in a way that keeps you quiet, keeps you soft, keeps you unnoticeable, ask yourself what it's costing you, your energy, your boundaries, your voice, your future. You weren't born to be harmless. You were born to be powerful and disciplined and capable of doing great things. You were born to speak up, to draw lines, to take up space, to become someone who people can rely on, not because you're convenient, but because you're solid. Don't confuse being harmless with being good. The world doesn't need more people who disappear to keep others comfortable. The world needs people who are dangerous in the right way, people who know their strength, who have mastered it, and who use it with intention. Because the cost of being harmless is too high, and you're worth more than that. If you want to become something more resilient, more fearless, more powerful, you have to earn it. You don't stumble into strength. You build it, you forge it, brick by brick, day by day. And it starts with a simple, brutal truth. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you discipline or grit or backbone. Those things aren't given. They're developed. They're trained, just like a muscle, just like a weapon. People talk about confidence like it's a feeling. It's not. Confidence is a side effect. It's the result of doing hard things consistently. You don't just wake up confident. You become confident when you know you've done the work, when your body remembers the effort, when your mind has been tested and didn't fold. Training the monster inside you is not about becoming aggressive or cruel. It's about becoming capable. It's about knowing that you can handle pain, pressure, adversity because you've put yourself through it on purpose. It's about conditioning your mind to stay calm under fire, to stay focused when everything is falling apart, to keep pushing when your legs shake and your lungs burn and your doubt screams louder than your breath. That kind of training doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in discomfort, repeated, deliberate, chosen discomfort, the kind most people avoid. But that's the secret. The people who look strong, who speak with clarity, who move through life with quiet authority, they didn't avoid struggle. They embraced it. They made it part of their daily routine. You want to sharpen your mind? Start reading things that challenge you, not surface-level motivational quotes, not short, easy wins. Read philosophy, read psychology, read history. Study people who were forged in fire, people who made it through real hell, not because you want to copy them, but because you want to understand what's possible when a human being refuses to break. And train your body. Not because it needs to look good on a screen, but because it's your armor, it's your vehicle, it's the first and last line of defense between you and the world. When your body is weak, your spirit follows. You move slower, you speak with less power, you hesitate when you should act. But when your body is strong, when you can carry your own weight, fight your own battles, endure physical pain, everything shifts. You carry yourself differently. You take up space with intention. You don't flinch when challenged. That's why physical training is more than just a workout. It's a daily act of war against your own excuses. Every rep, every set, every drop of sweat is a vote for the version of you that doesn't run from difficulty. It's you telling your mind, we do hard things. We don't quit. We don't fold. Not here. And while you're building strength, build your discipline. Don't wait to feel motivated. Motivation is fleeting. It's unreliable. Discipline is what shows up when motivation is gone. It's what drives you to do the work when no one's watching. It's what gets you out of bed when you're exhausted. It's what makes you finish the task, even when it's boring, even when it's painful, because you said you would. You build discipline by setting standards and not negotiating with yourself. You wake up when you said you would. You train when you don't feel like it. You write, read, show up, commit, regardless of mood. You become someone who does what they said they'd do, because that's who you are. That's identity. That's power. And don't just train your mind to be focused. Train it to be still, quiet, in control. People think power is about being loud or dominant. Real power is presence. It's calm in the chaos. It's a mind that can slow everything down under pressure. Meditation, cold exposure, breath control. These aren't just trends. They're tools. Tools to teach your nervous system that fear is not in control, that your breath, your awareness, your choices, those are in charge. And here's the thing most people miss. Training the monster isn't about always fighting. It's about knowing you can. It's about having the option to choose peace, because you've already mastered war. That's the paradox. The more trained you are, the less reactive you become. You don't escalate conflict. You de-escalate it, because you're not afraid of it. You don't get baited into drama or disrespect because you know your power doesn't need an audience. The world respects strength. Even if it doesn't say it out loud, it feels it. People can sense when you've put yourself through the fire. When your handshake is firm, your eye contact steady, your boundaries clear. They may not know your story, but they know your energy. That only comes from work, from showing up, even when it's raining, even when it's lonely, even when no one is clapping. You want to become a monster? Then earn it. No shortcuts, no hacks, just raw, unfiltered effort. Day in, day out. Train your body like it matters, because it does. Train your mind like your life depends on it, because one day it might. Read deeply, move often, rest deliberately, say no without guilt, practice silence, master emotion, build the kind of life that can't be shaken by someone else's opinion. Because when you've built yourself into something unshakable, when your mind is sharp, your body ready, your soul steady, you won't need to prove anything to anyone. You'll just be it, quiet, unapologetic, solid. And that's when the monster becomes real, not because it wants to be seen, but because it doesn't need to be. There's a common misconception that strength and compassion cannot coexist, that if you're powerful, you must be cold, that if you're intense, you must be hard, that if you have boundaries, you can't also have heart, and that couldn't be further from the truth. The most dangerous person in the room isn't the loudest. It's not the one flexing, threatening, or trying to dominate others. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who can destroy, but chooses not to. It's the one who leads with compassion, but never allows that compassion to be exploited. The one who listens with presence, but knows when to walk away. The one who forgives, but doesn't forget who they are. That's the monster with a heart. See, kindness without strength is manipulation. It's rooted in fear. When someone is nice to avoid conflict or to be liked, or because they're afraid of being alone, they're not being kind, they're being compliant. And compliance without clarity or confidence creates a life of resentment, burnout, and disconnection. You give and wonder why no one gives back. You make room for others and realize one day there's no room left for yourself. Compassion with boundaries changes everything. Compassion doesn't mean you say yes to everything. It means you say yes to the things that align with your values, with your purpose, with your time and energy. It means you can care about others without sacrificing yourself in the process. It means being able to hold space for someone's pain without carrying it like it's your own. It means recognizing someone else's suffering without allowing their chaos to become your reality. Most people think being good means being available, being flexible, being tolerant. But when you allow people to disrespect you, to cross your limits, to take advantage of your generosity, that's not good. That's not noble. That's self-betrayal. And over time, it erodes your spirit. It robs you of your fire. Because deep down, your soul knows when you've traded your integrity just to keep the peace. But a monster with a heart doesn't fear setting limits. In fact, they set them early, clearly, and unapologetically. Not as a way to keep people out, but as a way to protect what's sacred within. Because real compassion starts with you. You can't pour into others when you're constantly empty. You can't give genuine love when all you feel is exhaustion. So boundaries aren't barriers. They're gates. They decide what comes in and what stays out. And when you hold them firmly, you're not pushing people away. You're teaching them how to respect you. And here's the truth. Not everyone will like your boundaries. Some people are so used to you being easy, agreeable, or always there that your shift into self-respect will feel like rejection to them. Let them feel that. Let them adjust or let them go. Your compassion doesn't require you to shrink. It doesn't ask you to tolerate what breaks you. It simply asks you to stay rooted in your values while treating others with dignity, even when they don't return the favor. That's where real emotional strength lives. In the space between love and limits. In the ability to hold empathy in one hand and self-respect in the other. In the refusal to be cold, even when the world has tried to harden you. That's the power of the monster with a heart. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to fight for attention. You just exist with such unwavering clarity that your presence speaks for itself. You can forgive and still walk away. You can wish someone healing and still say, you don't have access to me anymore. You can love deeply and still choose yourself when that love is not being honored. This is what separates weak compassion from strong compassion. Weak compassion pleases everyone but protects no one. Strong compassion honors truth even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs you relationships, validation, or approval. And the irony is, the more you step into this strength, the more people trust you, because they know you're not pretending. You're not passive-aggressively fine. You're not silently seething while smiling on the surface. You're real. You're steady. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. And people may not always like it, but they respect it. Deeply. Compassion isn't about rescuing people. It's not about solving everyone's problems. It's about showing up with presence, listening with intention, and offering love that doesn't require self-erasure. And when you meet others from that place, when you offer empathy without sacrificing your own well-being, you give them the opportunity to grow too. Because enabling someone's dysfunction isn't love. That's fear wearing a mask. But holding someone accountable while still caring about their humanity, that's the highest form of respect. This is what the monster with a heart represents. An evolved strength. Not reactive, not emotional chaos, but powerful, grounded, mature compassion. You've been through the fire, but you didn't become bitter. You've had your heart broken, but you didn't let it close. You've had your boundaries tested, and instead of collapsing, you rebuilt them. Wiser, stronger, sharper. And now you know your worth so deeply that you don't need to defend it with noise or ego. It's in your tone, your walk, your presence. You give without being drained. You love without losing yourself. You help without enabling. And that balance, that fierce, rare balance, is what makes you unstoppable. So let the world see that version of you. The one who leads with heart and stands with fire. The one who isn't afraid to say no, to draw the line, to walk away when necessary. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And clarity is one of the highest forms of compassion. You are not here to be harmless. You are here to be whole, to be powerful, to be kind, and to never confuse weakness with love again. There will come a moment in your life when everything is on the line. It may not announce itself with chaos. It might arrive quietly, a conversation, a decision, a confrontation. But in that moment, something will be tested, your values, your boundaries, your identity. That's when the monster inside you must rise, not to destroy, but to protect, not to intimidate, but to assert, not to dominate, but to survive with your integrity intact. Unleashing the monster doesn't mean losing control. It means taking control when it matters most. It means accessing the part of you that doesn't hesitate, the part that knows who you are, what you stand for, and what you will not tolerate. It's the version of you that does not need approval, does not ask for permission, and is unshakably clear about what must be done. Most people are terrified of that part of themselves. They've spent their whole lives suppressing it. They've been told that anger is bad, that strength is threatening, that asserting yourself makes you difficult or selfish. So they bury their power. They ignore their instincts, and when they are backed into a corner, they freeze. But freezing doesn't protect you. In the real world, when someone crosses the line, when you're facing injustice, disrespect, exploitation, freezing is the fastest path to regret. You walk away from situations like that with your mouth shut, but your chest on fire. You replay what you should have said, what you should have done, but by then it's too late. The moment passed. You let it. And that's why you train the monster. That's why you build it, so that when the moment comes, you don't hesitate. You speak, you act, you draw the line with authority, not with rage, but with precision. You don't need to yell. You don't need to explode. You simply make it known. You will not be moved. Because when someone disrespects you, your time, your values, your dignity, it's not always about them. It's about whether you're willing to defend the standard you've set for yourself. It's about whether you believe your boundaries are worth protecting. If you let them slide once, you've taught the world how to treat you. Unleashing the monster doesn't mean becoming hostile. It means becoming fully awake. It's stepping into that version of you that's unshakable, unafraid, and fully aligned with your purpose. That version of you doesn't negotiate with bullies. It doesn't stay quiet in the face of lies. It doesn't tolerate being dismissed, overlooked, or minimized. But here's the key. You don't need to walk around with your claws out. You don't need to be aggressive all the time. The monster doesn't bark. It doesn't perform. It's not driven by ego or insecurity. It's silent, disciplined, patient. And when the moment is right, it shows up. That's real power. Controlled, intentional, strategic. People often misunderstand what it means to be powerful. They think it's about dominance or intimidation. But true power is the ability to choose how and when you act. It's the ability to stand firm, even when your voice shakes, to speak truth, even when it costs you, to hold the line, even when you're the only one holding it. And sometimes unleashing the monster means walking away. Not because you're weak, but because you're done explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes it means standing up in a room where no one else will, because your silence would mean complicity. Sometimes it means protecting someone else who can't defend themselves. Sometimes it means saying no so fiercely that the room goes quiet and everyone understands that no means no. The world respects people who can draw those lines, people who don't need to raise their voice because their presence says enough. And that's what you're building when you train the monster, the kind of presence that can't be ignored. Because life will test you. You will be challenged, disrespected, cornered, and in those moments, no one's coming to rescue you. Your strength must come from within, not from emotion, not from panic, not from the need to prove yourself, but from the deep, grounded knowledge that you are not someone to be trifled with. That doesn't make you cruel. It makes you prepared. You can be loving and lethal. You can be kind and unshakable. You can be soft with those who earn it and steel with those who cross you. That duality is not a flaw. It's a superpower. The world doesn't need more passive people. It needs more people who know when to be dangerous and when to be still, who know how to stand their ground without losing their soul. But don't wait for the crisis to find your strength. You must build it now, in how you speak, in how you train, in how you handle conflict, in the small moments when no one's watching. That's when the monster sharpens its teeth, in your morning routine, in your silence, in your breath, in your refusal to compromise your standards for comfort. Because when the time comes, and it will, you won't rise to the occasion. You will fall to the level of your training. So train like it matters. Speak like you mean it. Live like you're ready. And when the world pushes, when the line is crossed, when your soul is tested, don't flinch. Unleash the monster. Controlled, clear, unapologetic. Then walk away with your head high. Because that's what power looks like, and it's already inside you. You were not born to be harmless. You were born to be powerful, intentional, and capable of extraordinary discipline. The world doesn't need more people playing small, avoiding conflict, or staying silent just to fit in. It needs people who have trained their minds to be calm, their bodies to be strong, and their hearts to be clear. You should be a monster, not in the way people fear, but in the way that commands respect. A force that chooses peace, not because it's weak, but because it knows its own strength. A protector, a leader, a challenger of lies and injustice. Someone who can fight, but chooses when it's worth it. Someone who can burn everything down, but often doesn't have to, because their presence alone changes the room. This is your call to stop pretending to be less than you are, to stop softening your voice, diluting your opinions, apologizing for your intensity. The world does not get better when you shrink. It gets better when you rise. Not recklessly, not emotionally, but deliberately, powerfully, unapologetically. Build yourself into someone no one can ignore, not by chasing validation, but by becoming undeniable. Sharpen your body, discipline your mind, guard your soul, set your standards high, and protect them like they matter, because they do. And when life demands a version of you that can't be shaken, when the pressure rises, when the moment calls, you won't have to fake it. You'll already be ready. You should be a monster, but one with a mind, a mission, and a heart. Because that's not just strength. That's power with purpose.